Hey everyone, welcome to Tim's Vinyl Confessions. I'm Tim Derling, and once again, he's been sitting in quite a lot of these review episodes. We've got Chez. How you doing?
Hey Tim, everybody, thanks for having me again. Really excited about this one.
Yeah, this is a band that's it seems like I know that the last 3 years have been kind of a blur, but one of the highlights of the year that was 2020, especially in that springtime period, was the fact that we had a revitalized, revamped Vandenberg lineup that came up with a great album. I actually dug it out here called 2020, and
Yep.
yeah, I did a review episode of that when it came out, and did a bunch of shows, and then I guess a few months ago, the announcement was made that they're coming back with a new album. And this time around, it's even more traditional looking because we've got a fantastic I'm assuming now. I didn't. I'm assuming this is his cover. Yeah, cover look, painting, and logo. Yeah,
Yep.
and the album is called Sin. I mean, look at that. It's got the sharks from
Oh, it's just
from
so
heading for
awesome.
a storm. Let me get that. For comparison's sake, this is how it all started
Oh
40
yeah.
years ago, and now they've made their way into the city. um, and the logo, I think, kind of reminds me. It's not the Vandenberg logo per se, but it does kind of. Should have had these out. It says you get the logo there, just kind of the plain lettering. It reminded me of this a little bit.
Yeah, that's the first thing I thought of. Yeah.
And what's really cool, you say, well, they didn't use the logo. You flip it around. There's the classic logo right there.
hmm
So we've got 9 new songs now. I consider the last album 2020 to be a 9 song album because you
Yep.
know the 10th they did a remake of Burning Heart, which good as it was never going to stack up to the original. I would have preferred another
Yeah.
original
Yeah.
song,
Same here.
but I like the album. Now, of course, what's different this time around? The band is pretty much intact except for the vocals. Ronnie Romero no longer with Vandenberg. He's been replaced by a guy who's been in a few bands. Swedish vocalist by the name of Mats Levin. Now, were you familiar with him
Well,
prior to this?
I dug this out. If you're an Yngwie Malmsteen fan, he does the vocals on this album. I think it was '97. Really good album, really good melodic voice. So he does the vocals on this one. I think he did this album with him and a live one in terms of Ingve, but he's done some other stuff. But that's when I heard the name, I thought that sounds familiar, and then I kind of dug it out, and sure enough, he's the vocalist on this album. It's a good
That's
album too. Yeah,
that's Facing the Animal, right?
yeah,
Yeah, so I thought. Yeah, most of
yeah,
Ingve's albums have him on the cover, so it's hard to. Uh,
yeah, exactly. Yeah, Facing the Animal, really good.
and as we all know, Mr. Malmsteen goes through vocalists,
Oh,
quite a
just
bit.
churns
But
them out. I think he's
yeah,
singing on his own now. Yeah,
yeah. So this time around though, I think there's a not that the last album 2020 was any slouch, but this seems like a step up this time. For one thing, it's big time production on it. It's produced by Bob Marlette. I mean, that's a big
hmm
name,
yep.
and it was recorded in California, and of course, yeah, that's Adrian doing. He does the art, and it's just so cool. I just love
I
that.
just love that. Yeah,
Yeah. But the most important thing is the music, the songs on it. So I thought maybe we would go through the songs track by track, Ches. Made,
yeah, perfect. Yep.
made some notes about these. So the opener, Thunder and Lightning, I mean, as you might expect, it's a kind of a thunderous opening to a Vandenberg album. Just think about
Yeah,
this one.
great riff. A great riff, great heavy riff, and I think that those words heavy riffs are going to come up a lot. Like the riff just grabs you.
Yeah.
To me, it kind of not that it sounds like it, but to me, it's got that Deep Purple Highway Star feeling. Like first one in, just driving in the car. It's got that kind of gallop to it. Not that it sounds like it, but great chorus and scorching solo. And again, with when you get this album, the solos are just magnificent. And yeah, what a great way to open it up. Yeah.
Yeah, Adrian Vandenberg is a guitar player. I've always loved his playing. He can shred with the best of them, but he's always got a melodic bass. You can sing, his solos. You get their kind of songs under themselves, and that has not changed one bit. Now, one thing I had noticed about this song, I do hear the Deep Purple thing, but it also kind of reminded me of the song "Shadows of the Night," which was the first song from the 2020
Yeah.
album. Similar tempo. It's really fast. Now it doesn't sound like a carbon copy, but that's just kind of what it put me in mind of, and that's definitely not a detriment to either song. It's just it's a formula that works, right? You start the album off with a fast one. Next one, House on Fire. What did you think about this one?
Another great riff, another great vocal. Like the vocals really stood out to me because we're used to Ronnie by now because he's been in so many things. So we're used to his voice, So when I heard that, a lot of people said that wasn't going to last. Ronnie would probably go on to something else or he'd be busy. So you're kind of thinking, how's Matt's going to, do the catalog. And his vocals are great on this. And it's another good vocal, another great solo, and another solid riff, right? Another great song.
What I had written down about Max Levin as a vocalist was that when he's singing in his higher register, it's in that Ronnie Romero, it's in that Coverdale, Dio kind of wheelhouse. So it's not 100 years away. Now, where Matt sounds different is when he sings lower. He's got a very unique tone when he sings in his lower voice. Very, very cool. And songs like this use that to great effect. Also, another voice that I hear when he's singing sort of the higher raspy stuff is a voice that also reminded me is Kelly Keeling from Baton Rouge.
Oh yeah, great.
Part of the second Blue Murder album. Great vocalist. I kind of hear a little bit of that, which, that's fine by me. So, I mean, when you're talking about Vandenberg, White Snake, Deep Purple, you're in that Deep Purple family tree, Blue Murder, and just, so it very much makes sense.
All good.
Yeah. And the fact that Ronnie also sang, on that Rainbow Live album. And they, perfectly good replacement vocalist. And hopefully this lineup stays intact. Next song up is really interesting, and it really speaks to what I just talked about, the whole family tree, is the title song, Sin. This is a slow, heavy one. What did you think of this one?
One of my favorites on the album, longest song on the album, like that, like I said, kind of that slow, what I got written down, kind of like a sludging riff, And again, not that it sounds like it, but to me, it's got that Led Zeppelin Kashmir feel, and it doesn't sound like it, it's just got that feel to it. One of my favorites on the album. I just love that riff. Again, rips into that solo, but kind of starts off just slow and sludgy and heavy, right? Yeah. And I think people are going to be surprised that in 2023, here's Adrian Vandenberg from the 80s, and he just cranking out riffs like they're nothing. And love that song.
And once again, it's not like it's a carbon copy, but I wrote down that at different points during the song, it reminded me of The Last in Line by Dio, a little bit. It had also reminded me of a song that Adrian co-wrote. It reminded me of Judgment Day from Slip of the Tongue. So,
great comparison. Yeah,
I could hear them doing live shows and segueing into either of those songs, really, because I mean, you're in the crowd at this point. You're there to see Vandenberg. Who doesn't want to hear a little bit of Last in Line or Judgment Day? You know what I mean? That was very much work with the Vandenberg live set.
Yeah, do it. Yeah, for sure.
Number 4, light things, pun intended, lighten up a little bit for track number 4. Light It Up. What are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I like Matt's vocal on that. Really cool vocal on it. Another riff that kind of chugs along right there. I love all the songs on the album. Maybe not one of my top tier songs on the album, but it's still a solid, good song. And again, I keep repeating myself, but I can't help. I love my guitar solo. They took the time to it, and it fits the song type thing. And he just, he's just right back. It's Adrian Vandenberg, and that's what you expect from him. He's just great. So another good song.
Yeah, Adrian, I think, is one of those guys that he composes his solos. They sound like little mini songs within songs. And I wrote this was an up-tempo one. It didn't stand out as one of the key tracks on the album, but it's certainly not bad. Next up, track 5, Walking on Water.
So I think this one, as of now, because these things change all the time, I think this one's my favorite song on the album. It starts off slow and then bang. There's a heavy riff I got written down. Cool, gritty vocal. again, it's a good chorus. I love the chorus, and again, I've got written down that solo, but I think as of right now, I've gone through this 4 times. This, I think, is my favorite song, and followed by that Sin one. I just love the way it starts off, a little bit slow, and then boom, here comes that riff again, and it's fantastic. Love that chorus.
Oh yeah, yeah, really strong hooks on here. I mean, Adrian always wrote great melodies within a hard rock bordering on metal context. This one rhythmically and the vocal phrasing also reminded me of a little bit of a song from the last album. Kind of reminded me of the song Freight Train, which is one of my favorites from 2020. Just the way the chorus is put together, just kind of, it's like, what does that make me think of? And it's not like it's not one of those songs where, well, you could just substitute the lyrics. It's the same thing. That's not what I mean. I mean, phrasing wise, it's in that sort of vein. Next up, we've got another really heavy one, Burning Skies.
Yeah, and again, it just keeps coming at you, right? Like you're thinking, okay, that's riff, and then here's another one. This one's as heavy or heavier, and it's a very cool riff. And again, I think I like the way it's positioned. I really like the sequencing in this album. I like the way the songs flow, and I think that's a perfect one to come after the one we just spoke about. It's just kind of like, for the last one, the walking on water, just like you're ready for it, and then this one just kind of keeps going, doesn't kind of let you down right there. So you see sequence on it, and another great riff.
Yeah, no, it's a really good one. You're right. They just keep the hammer down. Next track 7, hit the ground running. It's exactly what it sounds like. And the album doesn't let up. I mean, it just keeps, name of the next song kind of says it all. Track 7, hit the ground running. What did you think of this one?
Again, just kind of chugs along. I got the feeling, kind of reminds me of the new wave of British heavy metal, which, Vandenberg was right there at the beginning. It's got that feel to it, and nice, just great chugging, driving song. No, it's a great, I listened to this in my car once, and 3 other times, like just out and about. This song sounds great when you're in your car right there. So I get that new wave of British heavy metal feel to it. Another great solo. I've been saying that a lot through it, but good chugging riff on that one.
Yeah, Vandenberg are one of those bands. I've never heard Martin Popoff talk about them as an honorary new wave of British heavy metal band. He's talked about bands like Riot and Y&T, but yeah, Vandenberg were right there. I mean, mainland Europe, and they would have been on. I would imagine they'd have been all on the same tours, so they were right there. And Adrian Vandenberg was writing in that style. So yeah, it's a great one. And it's worth mentioning, yeah, all of his solos are just keeps knocking it out of the park. I mean, the guy hasn't lost a step. You know what I mean? Like, I know there was a long gap where he wasn't recording, but man, it's just good stuff. Next up, complete change of pace. The only ballad on this one, called Baby You've Changed. What did you think of this one?
So I'm going to say this now. I don't expect radio to play this because we know radio's like these days. If radio gets on this song is going to be a rock radio hit. It's so great. I love Matt's vocal on this. It's a ballad, but it's still got, a little bit to it right there. But I just love the melody. I love the vocal on it. I love the solo. Adrian, he knows how to write those melodic songs, right? He wrote those on those Whitesnake albums. We know Burning Heart, classic. Can't Touch It, one of the best ballads ever from this genre. And this one right here proves that he can still do that. And what a great song. Like, to me, if somebody on radio just plays it, people are going to say, I want that. I want to buy this. That's going to be a hit. Love this song.
Yeah, it's funny. It might be my favorite on the album. I just instantly, I'm right there, Yeah. And I was curious because, Matt Slevin, great singer, and when he sings in that high register, get a lot of Coverdale isms, but he has a very different lower register. And I was thinking, what would he sound like in a song like this? And it sounds fine. I get a couple of, for this song, I get a couple of Whitesnake songs that sort of come to mind. One, Adrian co-wrote, one he didn't. The first thing that came to mind was Is This Love from the 1987 album. But the other one I thought of is a lesser known song, which is a shame because it should have been a big hit, is Too Many Tears from Restless Heart.
Great song.
Yeah, which Coverdale and Vandenberg wrote. It's also not that far away from something like The Deeper the Love from Slip of the Tongue. I think that once Adrian started writing in Whitesnake, I don't think he's ever stopped writing with a Coverdale type voice in mind. It seems like he writes all of those songs with the idea of if David could sing this, and I'd love to hear Coverdale take on a song like this.
Yeah. And perfect analysis. Like, it would fit right between those two songs you mentioned on bookends, and right with that Slip of the Tongue with those two ballads on there. So fantastic. And yeah, he knows how to write those melodic songs. And another great solo, but the vocal on that, just Matt's is great on this album, but he really shines on that song right there. So fantastic.
I think so. Yeah. I mean, in a perfect world, that would be a single, and it would be a hit single. But we know that's not the case anymore. But just that's why we're trying to get the word out that it's out there, and it's really good. And if you like any of the songs we've just talked about, you're gonna like this one. It's hooky. It just grabs you.
Yeah.
And last song on the album, again, changing it back to the heaviness. This one's really different. It's called Out of the Shadows. The child's voice you hear at the beginning of it is credited as Emil Levin, which I assume would be Max Levin's son. What did you think about this one?
Again, kind of, you brought down slightly with the ballad, not too much, but this one kind of brings you back up. Kind of a little bit of a slow start on this one, and then like a bit of a dredging riff. Another good solid riff. Again, I keep using that adjective, ripping solo, because he does another one. Like, his solos are so well thought out. They're very melodic. They're not just like to be a solo. Sometimes those solos, you think, I don't know if really it fits that song. It just sounds like they're just kind of soloing. Like, you can tell, like, he writes those with purpose and ends it off great. Another great one, another great way to kind of tie up the album. I'm into these 9 to 10 song, 45 minutes albums, kind of like what we grew up on, side one, side two. And I like that he did that on the last album and on this one. And I just think it ties it up nicely, and fantastic.
Yeah, it's a good point. The first two Vandenberg albums were 9-song albums. I mean, Alibi had 10 tracks on it, but one of them was a little Prelude Mortal, which, give or take, right? And 2020 had 10 tracks, but one was the remake of Burning Heart. So yeah, and it really works. You're not fatigued from hearing a bunch of new music all at once. It feels like you've gone on a complete sort of audio journey, and it makes you want to listen to it again. So, and that's what I've been doing. I've been listening to this again and again since it came out. It's just fantastic. I also just want to mention, I also like the design. The cool design carries over to the disc itself. They've got the Vandenberg logo and more of that green on there. It's like I said, when I reviewed 2020, really doesn't sound much like the first 3 Vandenberg records, with Bert Hearink and all those guys, but it's still good, traditional, hard rock, bordering on heavy metal by times, and it's just really, really good. And whether Adrian's writing heavy or he's writing a ballad, he writes melodically. He solos melodically. It's just you're going to come away from this with the songs in your head.
Yeah, and there's also like an excitement because, like, here's Adrian, this band, back in the day where we grew up, and you see this logo and you knew this was coming out, so I had an excitement and anticipation about it. I feel the same way with the new Dokken album coming out. Like, I'm excited because that's a band we grew up with, and I'm excited that that's coming up. And that's how I felt with this one. It's a real bit of excitement and not a letdown at all. Just well worth the wait. And, it'll be getting many listens, fantastic.
Yeah. And I don't know. I agree with you about the Dokken too. I don't know if it's the fact that it's brand new. It's the shiny, fresh, album. But I think I might end up listening to this and liking it more than the 2020. The 2020 was a fine album. But it's almost as if, Adrian and the rhythm section have gelled a little bit more. And just come out with a solid album, very well produced. It's just, there's nothing modern sounding about the production.
No.
It's a very well recorded album. Everything's just where you want it to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Clean. It's almost like he said, it's almost like he's kind of like listening to what's going out there. And he said, riffs. Okay, I got riffs, and it's like he shows like he can write heavy, yet still with that melody, because I think sometimes when, sometimes melody is sacrificed sometimes for heaviness, where he doesn't do that. Like these riffs are heavy, but the songs are melodic and the riffs are melodic. And that's what I like.
Yeah. Oh, it's just really good. It's, where it'll fall in my list of 2023 albums, I don't know, but it's definitely great. So the new Vandenberg, Sin, is out now, and would encourage everyone to get it. It's on Mascot, as the last album was as well. So yeah, however you need to get a hold of this one, if you followed so far, you're going to want to hear this album. So Ches, thanks once again for sitting in and helping me review this.
Thank you so much. Really enjoyed being on the shows with you. Thank you.
And yeah, we've got a couple more coming up as soon as some things get released. So something for folks to look forward to. So and Ches even represented the Tim's Vinyl Confession merchandise, which I really appreciate. He's got the unspooled cover.
This one is my favorite design. Love this one, and they're all great. Like and good quality stuff. I got a couple of the shirts, but this one definitely my favorite. Love this design.
Yeah, it's good quality stuff. I wouldn't, if I started doing the merch and people were saying, oh, the shirts are really thin and they tear easy, then I probably wouldn't do it. But it's good. Yeah, they're good quality. There's stickers, mugs, and the whole thing, and a lot of designs. So if you're interested, go to tpublic.com and look for Tim's Final Confessions. And thanks once again, Ches, and thanks everyone for watching this edition of Tim's Vinyl Confessions.